So just, I'm trying to wrap this up, but recently, yesterday maybe, I happened to be online and I saw this breaking news where the Pittsburgh Steelers um, were happy to hear that some of the refs in the last Pittsburgh Steelers Buffalo Bills game were under investigation for their calls, for bad calls and everything. Now, you already know I'm not a Pittsburgh Steelers fan or anything, but I love one. And so I was like, okay, well, that's interesting. I didn't think anything about it, Tony. I kept going. And then there were comments saying, well, somebody needs to look at those refs in the Chiefs game. And I was like, this is interesting. And then someone else put, oh, they've already done that. They have 7 refs from the last Chiefs game under investigation. Kansas City Chiefs game under investigation. And I thought to myself, now that sounds kind of silly. So I'm sure that we all have heard of Snopes by now, right? And I was curious. Sometimes if I have time, I'll go to different, news outlets and everything. But I kind of didn't. So I just went ahead and fact checked through Snopes. And lo and behold, that was a false story. So now, I know I said I didn't have time, but I made time. So now I'm like, I wonder if the Steelers story is false too. That was a false story. Why does any of this matter? We have communities upon communities upon communities that wake up every day and get their news sources from false sources. Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry it took me to be today years old to figure out that that's at the root of so much of our disagreement and our apparent disdain for one another, is that some of us are just flat out being lied to, or I should say, at certain points, all of us are flat out being lied to. And some of us are not willing or able or aware enough to do the work to find out that's what's happening.
And I think that's it's funny you brought the kind of the refs, the games and all that involved in it, kind of brought it together, because I do think there is an equilibrium, and this might be me just playing devil's advocate, but when it comes to the whole ref situation, if you have a bunch of calls that are, like if it would have been 5 touchdowns that you got cheated out of, that's one thing. If you're getting calls for 15 yards here, 15 yards there, you might just think, you know what, y'all could have played a better game. But also, all it takes is one of those plays to maybe mess up an entire game. So I think at the same time, as Americans, and we shouldn't have to put ourselves through this, but we have to work harder to get less misinformation, if that makes sense. And that does involve you kind of a lot of the times having to sit down and say, you know what, I was wrong about this. What else could I be wrong about? I know that this place, I don't like what they have to say, but a lot of the times they're right when they say things, so maybe I need to start listening more to them instead of being in my little bubble. So that kind of, it really makes me upset when I see so many people in the comments on Instagram, in the comments on Facebook, because like you said, this is when you'll be doing stuff a lot longer than you should, because you're thinking, and you really shouldn't be, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe all these people that are spewing this misinformation are absolutely correct, because there are so many people liking this comment saying that DEI is the reason that an airplane went down, or DEI is the reason that XYZ, your own president, is saying this crazy stuff. So then you actually look deeper into it and you realize, oh, so these people are just spewing nonsense. And then everybody else who either doesn't have time, doesn't want to make time, or has time, but, it's fitting their narrative, these people are the ones that are out here like, you know what? This says this is where I'm getting my information, so that must be the root cause. The president said that all of this is happening because too many women, too many minorities are in jobs that no one else really either wants to do or can do. It makes no sense to me.